Hello everyone, this is Ruchika here, and today I'm going to read a short story from Enchanted Tales by John Patience. The Offended Browney. Once upon a time in Ireland there was a cottage by a bog, where a clever woman lived with her idle husband and lazy daughter. She was always hard at work, but her family never lifted a finger to help her. Every day she milked the cow, fed the hens and collected their eggs. She tended to the vegetables in their little garden, kept the house cozy and clean. Unfortunately, her husband and daughter could hardly be bothered to get out of their beds. One morning, the woman was busy with her cooking when she heard tap, tap, tap on the door. She opened it and saw a little man standing on the foot of her doorstep. He was wearing a rust-colored cap with a white feather and a fur waistcoat and patched trousers, and his face was as brown and wrinkled as a nut.
"Will you give a brownie a bite of something to put between his teeth?" the little man asked. "I'm so hungry that I could eat a horse."
The woman felt sorry for the brownie and invited him in. "Sit by the fire and help yourself to the stew in the pot," she told him with a smile. The brownie did not need to be told twice. He ate up every bit of the stew, wiping the last of the delicious gravy up from his plate with a piece of homemade bread. When he had finished, the brownie thanked the woman for the stew and went on his way. At midday, the idle husband and the lazy daughter got out of bed. They sat down at the kitchen table, even though it was too late for breakfast or too early for dinner. "I'm hungry," whined the lazy daughter. "Can I smell stew?" asked the idle husband. "The pot is empty," said the woman. "I made a lovely stew, but a brownie ate every last bit of it." The husband and daughter could not believe their ears. They went straight back to bed, cross and hungry. The next day was market day. In the morning, the woman shook her daughter awake and asked her to stir the stew that was bubbling on the stove. Then she set off with her basket full of eggs to sell. The day was fine and bright, and she sang as she walked down the path. Back at the little cottage by the bog, the stew was filling the kitchen with a mouth-watering smell, and the lazy daughter was dozing off with her feet on the stool when she heard tap, tap, tap on the door. "Come in," she called. She was much too lazy to go to the door. The brownie stepped inside.
"Will you give a brownie a bite of something to put between his teeth?" asked the little man. "I'm so hungry I could eat a horse."
"I certainly will not," snapped the daughter. "Be off with you!" And she hit him over the head with her mother's broom. The brownie gave a loud screech, and the broom was snatched out of the girl's hands. "Sweep her out!" shrieked the brownie, dancing with rage. "Sweep her out!" The broom swept the girl all around the table and out of the door. It swept her through the garden, past the frightened kitchens, and up over the fence. It swept her far out into the bog. Then the bog opened up under her feet, and she sank into it, up to her neck and over, until not a bit of her was to be seen. When the clever woman returned from the market, it was dark. She found no sign of her daughter and no sign of the stew. "Where is our daughter?" she asked her husband. He just shrugged his shoulders. So as soon as the sun rose next day, she went out to search, leaving her idle husband minding the house. The man was sitting mumbling and grumbling to himself in the kitchen when he heard tap, tap, tap on the door. "Come in or go away, please yourself," he said. The brownie opened the door and stepped inside.
"Will you give a brownie a bite of something to put between his teeth?" he asked. "I'm so hungry that I could eat a horse."
Then go away and find a horse, snapped the man rudely. You'll get no food from me. The brownie flew into a temper. A poker and beat him, he shrieked. The poker by the fireside leapt into the air and began to beat the man about the shoulders. It beat him all around the kitchen and out of the door. It beat him through the garden, past the frightened chickens, and up over the fence. It beat him far out into the bog. The woman was on her way home and saw her husband being chased by the poker. She watched as the bog opened up beneath him, and he disappeared into it, closely followed by the poker and the furious brownie. The clever woman was very upset. Even though her husband and daughter were lazy, she loved them and wanted them back. She sat down to think. That brownie must be very hungry, she said to herself. Tomorrow I will cook a wild hare with carrots and onions and leave the kitchen door ajar. The brownie will smell it and come knocking. Then I'll ask him to bring my husband and daughter back to me. But the offended brownie did not come back. For a month the woman cooked wonderful food to tempt him, but he ignored her. Then she remembered that brownies love sweet things, so she decided to bake a cake. The clever woman baked a wonderful cake of rich golden brown. She filled it with nuts and cherries and raisins. She gathered violets with the morning dew still on them, then sugared them to decorate the edges of the cake. On the very top, she put 3 sugared roses. It would make your mouth water just to look at it. If any brownie in the country can resist that cake, said the woman to herself, then I am the king of Ireland's daughter. She took her best tablecloth and spread it out on the bog where her husband and daughter had been swallowed up. She put the beautiful cake in the center of it. Then she sang, "Come, brownies, here's a cake for you, the best in County Kerry. It's topped with sugared flowers and filled with nut and cherry." No sooner had she finished the song than the brownie jumped up off the bog, licking his lips at the sight of the cake. "Take the cake, it's yours, for the trouble of speaking a word," she said, holding it up under the brownie's nose. It was too much for the little man to resist. He put 2 fingers between his lips and gave a loud whistle. The bog around them began to shake and shiver, and up among the reeds came the clever woman's husband and daughter, surrounded by brownies. The woman gave her cake to the brownies and turned to welcome her family home. When she looked around again, the brownies were gone, and that was the last she ever saw of them. The brownies had worked the idle husband and the lazy daughter hard day and night, with never a moment to catch their breath. It had changed them forever. They were so happy to be at home, they started to do their share of work. The daughter milked the cow, fed the hens, and collected their eggs. The husband tended the vegetables in the garden. The clever woman still kept the house cozy and clean, and cooked delicious meals. When the evening came, all 3 sat together, tired and happy by the fireside, in the little cottage by the bog.